Sometimes I wonder, am I like boring the audience by continually pointing out the same thing over and over? Like, I'm not breaking any news that CNN and MSNBC are awful. So maybe I should not highlight segments where it's just insanely absurd what they're doing. But then I think, well, I want to arm my audience with the most information possible in real time of what they're doing. Because to me, yes, 2016 was 100% rigged. There's voter suppression, there's election fraud, but the real systematic rigging is what you see every day in the corporate media, because the corporate media is basically waging an information war, not just against Bernie Sanders, but against progressive policies and progressive movement. And that information war is based on propaganda and lies. So I think it's my job, even if I got to do it over and over again, to point out when they are grossly, grossly lying and basically, instead of being journalists, being agents of corporations, agents of multi-billion-dollar corporate conglomerates, and all that. So when I watched, and by the way, I got to tell you the truth, I honestly don't know why Bernie Sanders keeps going on with them. And if you're going to go on with them, at least fight them. He's too nice to these people who continually lie and are continually, basically trying to, with him on air, trying to discredit him, trying to lie about his policies, trying to lie about their popularity, and basically trying to smear him. So I don't really know why he keeps going on, to tell you the truth, but that's a different story. I'm going to play for you this bonkers, ridiculous CNN clip. And again, Bernie keeps going on, so I don't understand it. I really don't. But this is clip one, where Bernie goes on and CNN really is very concerned about the private health insurance industry. They're very, very concerned what's going to happen to the private health insurance industry. Here we go.
All right, with just a week until the next Democratic debate, Senator Bernie Sanders is heading to Canada this Sunday. He will take a bus tour with diabetes patients across the border to buy less expensive insulin. Part of his Medicare for All push and his attempt to try to stand out and own the healthcare debate in the crowded field of Democrats. And he joins me now, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So you're going to take this bus tour. As our latest polling shows that you're really neck and neck. You are pretty much tied with Kamala Harris and Senator Elizabeth Warren behind former Vice President Joe Biden. That's a CNN poll of polls. Tell me what this should indicate to us about how you plan to stand out and show the American people on our debate stage next week that you're different from them.
Sorry to cut you off, Bernie, but I got it. That was line number one. That was line number one, and I don't understand. I really don't understand why Bernie Sanders does not call it out. Bernie Sanders is not essentially tied with Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren. I mean, I just showed you this yesterday. Bernie Sanders is number 2 in the most recent Iowa poll. He's number 2 in the most recent New Hampshire poll. And he's number 2 in the most recent South Carolina poll. So he's number 2 in most of the early states. Bernie Sanders also, in a recent Gallup poll of all the candidates, had the highest favorability among any candidates, meaning he's the most liked among every candidate. Bernie Sanders, in the most recent, I think it was Democracy for America, a progressive group, straw poll, Bernie Sanders is far out ahead. So she's putting forth something to make it seem like you're essentially tied with Kamala Harris. You're essentially tied with Elizabeth Warren. Hold on, let me get you the thing. CBS, here we go. So is this essentially tied? Iowa, 19%, Warren 17%, Kamala Harris 16%. New Hampshire, Bernie Sanders 20, Elizabeth Warren 18, 12, Kamala Harris 12%. South Carolina, 17 for Bernie, 12 for Kamala, Elizabeth Warren 12%. And by the way, yes, Bernie's only up by 2 there, 5 there, 2 there, as I've shown you over and over and over and over and over and over and over. All of these polls are wildly undersampling younger voters. Secondly, I mean, I'm going to whip this out right now. This is a Politico piece, which astoundingly was pretty decent, basically showing that Bernie Sanders is beating Elizabeth Warren in almost every single important demographic you could ask for. Yet, Bernie Sanders doesn't challenge the CNN anchor on her falsehood that they're essentially tied. I mean, let's take a look. 22% of Democratic primary voters who earn less than $50,000 annually support Bernie Sanders, while 12% are for Warren. So, according to an average of the past 4 weeks of Morning Consult's poll, of those without college degrees, 22% are behind Sanders, 10% back Warren. So, the lowest income people support Bernie significantly more than Elizabeth Warren. Secondly, that is important, and CNN is not going to report this, because if that demographic, the lowest income people, those without college degrees, are what Trump excelled in. That is why Trump is president. It's not Putin. It's not Comey. He got the highest amount of people, particularly in the Rust Belt, without college degrees. The blue-collar working man and woman of America without college degrees. Bernie picks off at that. Elizabeth Warren does not. You want more? I'll give you more. Roughly the same percentage of voters with bachelor's degrees. 16% for Bernie, 15% for Warren. So they're essentially tied among those with bachelor's degrees. Warren beats him with postgraduate degrees. There's a similar split based on age, gender, and interest in politics. Sanders wins more than 1/3 of the 18 to 29-year-olds. That would be the millennials. 25, more than 1/3. So I think that's 26, 27%. Warren gets 11%. Warren has the support of 13% of those aged 30 to 44. Well, Bernie has 25% of those aged 30 to 44. So Bernie's beating her in 18 to 29, 30 to 44. Then you look at 45 to 54. Warren has 13% of those. Bernie has 17. So Bernie, basically, up to 54 years and under, Bernie Sanders is beating her. Bernie is also beating her. 20% of men support Sanders, 11% for Warren. 18% of women are behind Sanders, 14% behind Warren. Bernie is also beating her 19% to 9% among African Americans. So when CNN says to Bernie Sanders, you're essentially, tied, I don't know why he buys into that false premise. He should say, that's incorrect. Elizabeth Warren is my friend, but, that's incorrect. We actually are leading among African Americans, age 18 to 29, 25 to 34, 34 to 45, on and on and on. And those without college degrees, those even with bachelor's degrees. So I don't, his campaign is arming him with the information, I can tell you that. So sorry, some of you don't like when I criticize Bernie Sanders, but I mean, I don't know why he's buying into this false premise.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.